Kyle Larson walked into Pocono Raceway on Saturday, and within hours, his car chief was thrown out, his team lost pit stall selection, and NASCAR had officially made his weekend a nightmare. But what happened next inside that number 5 car left the entire garage speechless. It all started on Saturday at Pocono Raceway, and it started badly. Kyle Larson's number 5 Hendrick Motorsports Chevrolet failed NASCAR pre-race inspection not once, but twice. That is not a minor issue in the NASCAR Cup Series. Failing inspection twice in a single weekend triggers a set of penalties that can derail an entire race before the green flag ever drops. And that is exactly what happened to one of the strongest teams in the garage. The penalties came down quickly, and they were significant. The number 5 team lost its pit stall selection for the entire race weekend. That means instead of picking a pit stall based on strategy and preference, the team was forced to take whatever 2 stalls were left over after every other team in the field had already made their selections. At a track like Pocono, where pit road strategy is one of the most critical factors in determining the outcome of a race, this was a serious blow. But the bigger loss came in the form of a personnel ejection. Jesse Saunders, the car chief for the number 5 Hendrick Motorsports Chevrolet, was ejected from the track and barred from participating in any further activity for the remainder of the race weekend. Larson's number 5 was not the only car caught up in the inspection controversy. Daniel Dye, driving the number 78 Live Fast Motorsports Chevrolet, also failed inspection twice and received the exact same penalties. His car chief, Chris Stanley, was also ejected for the remainder of the weekend. What made Dye's situation particularly difficult is that this was only his second career Cup Series start. Competing at the Cup level is already an enormous challenge. Doing it without a key team member and without pit stall selection makes it exponentially harder. Both cars eventually passed inspection on their 3rd attempt, which meant they were still permitted to qualify and would not face any additional in-race penalties. Had either car failed a 3rd time, the consequences would have escalated considerably. Inspection failures have become a recurring storyline throughout the 2026 NASCAR Cup Series season. At Las Vegas Motor Speedway in March, 4 different car chiefs were ejected for inspection issues. The week before Pocono, at Michigan, another round of inspection violations made headlines. The number 5 and number 78 failures at Pocono were simply the latest chapter in a season-long pattern of teams pushing the boundaries of what NASCAR will allow. Despite everything that had just happened to his team, Kyle Larson went out and immediately reminded the garage why the number 5 is considered one of the most dangerous cars in the Cup Series. During Saturday practice, Larson topped the speed charts with a lap of 170.707 miles per hour around Pocono's famous tricky triangle layout. That alone would have been impressive. But Larson also led the entire field in 1.0 lap average speed, which is widely regarded as a far more meaningful indicator of actual race pace than a single fast lap. Leading both categories told everyone in the garage one very clear thing. The number 5 car was not just quick in short bursts, it had the pace to go the distance. Then came qualifying. After all the drama, all the penalties, and all the off-track chaos, Larson went out and posted the 2nd fastest qualifying lap of the entire field. That earned him a front row starting position for Sunday's Great American Getaway 400. Denny Hamlin had claimed the pole. Larson would line up right beside him. The penalties had created real problems for the team in terms of pit road strategy and crew availability, but on raw speed, the number 5 Chevrolet looked like a legitimate race winner. Then came another complicating factor. NASCAR officials were monitoring the weather closely heading into Sunday, and the forecast was not encouraging. Rain was threatening to move into the Pocono Mountains in the afternoon. In response, NASCAR moved the race start time forward by 2 hours, from 3 p.m. Eastern to 1 p.m. Eastern. The goal was straightforward: get the race started early enough to complete all 400 miles before the weather arrived. It added yet another layer of unpredictability to a weekend that already had plenty of it. This was the 16th points-paying event of the 2026 Cup Series season, and with the playoffs approaching, every single position and every single point on the board matters. When the green flag dropped on Sunday, Larson made his move immediately. He passed Hamlin coming off the start and took the lead on the very first lap. The number 5 car looked exactly as fast as Saturday's practice had suggested. Larson held the lead until lap 25 when Hamlin pulled alongside him coming out of turn 3 and made the pass heading to the start-finish line. Hamlin went on to win stage 1. In stage 2, a multi-car crash on the front stretch on lap 47 brought out the caution and reshuffled the field. A spin by Zane Smith on lap 41 had already caused 1 yellow flag. When the race finally settled into a long green flag run through the remainder of the second stage, it was Todd Gilliland who found himself at the front at the right moment, earning the stage 2 win, the first stage victory of his career. Hamlin, meanwhile, found himself buried in the pack on the stage 2 restarts due to fuel strategy decisions that did not work in his favor. He finished the second stage in 9th place. The final stage is where everything came apart and came together at the same time, depending on which team you were watching. Casey Mears triggered the 5th and final caution of the day when he brushed the wall in turn 2 on lap 106. On the lap 111 restart, Hamlin went to work. He passed John Hunter Nemechek for the lead and began pulling away. He made his final pit stop on lap 122 and cycled back into position as the rest of the field cycled through their own stops. It was at this point that crew chief Adam Stevens made the call that would define Christopher Bell's afternoon. Bell had qualified 22nd and spent the vast majority of the race mired in the mid-pack, never able to gain ground on the restarts. He was also racing through serious physical pain, having broken his left wrist in a violent crash with Chase Elliott at Michigan the previous weekend. With nothing to lose and no realistic chance at a top finish through conventional strategy, Stevens told Bell to stay out. The plan was to stretch the fuel tank across the final 51 laps without making another pit stop. Before that final green flag run even began, Stevens was already telling Bell that making it to the finish on fuel was unlikely. But as the laps ticked down, Bell built a lead that started to look genuinely enormous. Hamlin was nearly 11 seconds behind when Bell first took the lead on lap 138. The problem was that Bell could not run at full pace. He had to conserve fuel constantly, which meant the cars that had made their pit stops, including Hamlin, who had fresher tires and a full fuel load, were closing in. Before we went green on that final run, he was making it sound like there was no way we would ever make it, Bell said of his crew chief. When it got to 20 laps to go, it was like 17 seconds, and then it's like, are we racing for the win, or are we racing to finish the race? With 10 laps to go, Bell still led by 4.8 seconds. With 7 laps to go, the margin had been cut to 2.6 seconds. Lap by lap, Hamlin kept closing. Finally, heading into turn 3, Hamlin made the pass for the lead with 5 laps remaining. Then, on the very last lap, the white flag lap, Bell's fuel ran completely dry. He was forced to pit from 4th place and dropped all the way to 26th by the time the checkered flag fell, 1 lap short of completing one of the most dramatic fuel gambles in recent Pocono history. Bell was remarkably clear-eyed about the outcome afterward. This was not a would have, could have, should have, he said. I have had a lot of would have, could have, should haves this year, but not this one. That was just a gamble. We ran around 20th. All day. Despite the heartbreaking result, Bell still sits 70 points above the playoff cut line with 10 races remaining in the regular season. Denny Hamlin crossed the finish line 1.678 seconds ahead of Tyler Reddick in second. William Byron finished third in the number 24 Hendrick Motorsports Chevrolet. John Hunter Nemechek came home fourth. Kyle Larson, despite everything his team had endured on Saturday, finished 5th. The win was historic on multiple levels. It was Hamlin's fourth victory of 2026, his third consecutive win following Nashville and Michigan, and the 64th of his career. That 64th win broke a tie with the late Kyle Busch and moved Hamlin into sole possession of 9th place on NASCAR's all-time wins list. The timing of that milestone, given Busch's recent passing, was not lost on anyone inside the garage or watching at home. The 3 consecutive wins also came from 3 consecutive pole positions, a feat that had not been accomplished in NASCAR since Darrell Waltrip did it across 4 straight races in 1981. Hamlin now has 8 career wins at Pocono Raceway, extending his own record as the most successful driver in the track's history. The team is doing an amazing job knowing exactly what I need in the car every week, Hamlin said after the victory. That's why we're winning. The championship implications of the win were equally significant. Tyler Reddick had led the Cup Series standings by 105 points after his 5th win of the season at Kansas back in April. After Pocono, that lead had shrunk to just 19 points, with 10 races left in the regular season. Hamlin, who co-owns Reddick's number 45 team at 2311 Racing, is now hunting down his own driver in the standings. While Hamlin was making history, Legacy Motor Club was quietly putting together one of their best performances in years. Nemechek led a race-high and career-best 42 laps on Sunday, more laps than he led in either the entire 2024 or 2025 seasons. His 4th-place finish tied his career-best result. Eric Jones added a 6th-place finish, his 2nd consecutive top, 1-0. Jones now sits 15th in the Cup Series standings, only 4 points above the playoff cut line, tied on points with Austin Cindric, but ahead on a tiebreaker. The playoff bubble heading into the final stretch of the regular season is extremely tight. Shane Van Gisbergen holds 14th, just 10 points clear of 17th place. Jones and Cindric are separated from the cut line by only 4 points. Brad Keselowski fell to 17th after his early exit in the Pocono crash. Joey Logano sits 18th, now 21 points below the cut line with time running out. Larson, finishing 5th after losing his car chief and pit stall selection on Saturday, confirmed what his practice times had already shown. The number 5 team is still one of the most formidable operations in the Cup Series. And Denny Hamlin, 3 wins in a row, 64 career victories, sole possession of 9th on the all-time list, and only 19 points behind the points leader, is the most dangerous driver on the track right now. The question facing every team heading into the inaugural Anduril 250 at the Qualcomm circuit on Naval Base Coronado next weekend is simple. Who has the answer for Denny Hamlin?